Good morning. Welcome back to Charlotte Street Computers online training. My name is Tom, and today we're taking a look at iCloud photos. This used to be something that we would kind of wrap into the whole iCloud class, but there's just too much that iCloud's doing to cram all that into 1 hour. So we've taken the photos part, put it in its own little hour, and we can take this a little bit slower and more relaxed. What I'm going to do before we dive into demonstration is just do a quick little slideshow on the 3 points that we're going to cover today, and then we'll actually go look at them on an iPad and a Mac. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. These 3 features that we're going to talk about have been kind of rolled out chronologically. And the first one that was available for the very first year of iCloud, it was called My Photo Stream. Apple is actually phasing this one out, and I just learned between the last time I did this class and today that My Photo Stream is only available to users that have used it in the past. It says not available to new users. So if you've got a new device, you're new to the Apple world, you may not even see any references to this at all. For those of you that have had Apple devices since 2011, maybe an iPhone or an iPad or even a Mac, you might see some references to this. So basically what this did, the good thing about it was that it was automatic. The not so good things about it was that they only promised to keep 1,000 photos in this stream, which is actually why they called it a stream, because photos would flow in and flow out. And they only promised to keep your photos there for 30 days. So the idea of this, of course, doesn't sound all that great, but the idea is that let's say you took your photos on your phone, that those photos would be available on your iPad and on your Mac to import them and do things with them during those 30 days. If you decide to import them, they'll stay there on the other devices. So and of course, they don't disappear off of the device that actually put them into the stream. So it's not like your photos were going to disappear. It's just they wouldn't be visible on all your devices after those 30 days or after you've taken 1,000 photos and put them in there. So anyway, it wasn't the best feature in the world, but it was free. It doesn't take up any of our iCloud storage space. And so the following year they introduced a new feature that originally they called it shared photo streams. And this was a bad name because unlike the My Photo Stream feature, these photos don't flow out of a stream that you make. So they've actually changed the name of this to shared albums, and you'll see that in your settings today. So as the name implies, this was designed for sharing your photos with other people. So it came about 7 years ago in iOS 6, or on the Mac side of things, Mountain Lion, using iPhoto. And this one, the only, I would say, negative thing about it is that you have to actually do something. You have to select the photos that you want to share, and it's also a positive. It's like you're not going to accidentally share something. So you select the things that you want to share, and then you choose who you want to share them with, and they will be there forever. It's virtually unlimited. I think there's a limit of 10,000 photos per shared album, but you can have more than one shared album, so there's technically not really a limit there. The very first year they rolled this out, and I guess that would have been late 2012, this was only available for photographs, so you couldn't put any videos at all in there. They quickly changed that the next year with iOS 7 and macOS 10 Mavericks, I believe it was called. They allowed up to 5-minute videos to be put in these shared streams, and they're sticklers for that. Let me put it that way. If it's 5 minutes and 1 second, it won't let you do it. So in fact, that limit still stands today. And then they also introduced another feature that year that still stands today, and that is the ability to allow your subscribers, assuming you're the person that created the shared album, you would be the owner, and the people that you invite would be subscribers. If you accept an invitation to an album, then you are a subscriber. And so the person who's the owner has the option of allowing the people that are invited to put their photos and videos into the shared album. So this is a lot of fun. It's you can make comments on photos. You can like photos. It's like a very private Facebook type situation. One little couple details here. You technically don't have to share these albums with other people, so that you can actually skip that step and it would only share them with your own devices. So some of us actually use this as kind of a poor man's iCloud photo library, because technically this was only available for the best thing that was available to us for a couple of years. So anyway, you do not have to share with other people, although it's a lot more fun if you do. Also, the second point is that this does not count against your iCloud storage. So you could have 100 albums in this shared system and still be in the free 5 gigabyte plan. So something to keep in mind. It's not as flexible in editing. Once you've shared a photo into an album, you cannot edit it. So you'd have to actually re-import the photo to your library if it's not still there, make your edit, and then save it back. So it's not as fluid as what I'm about to show you. And so in iOS 8 and I believe it was macOS 10 Yosemite, they introduced a feature that they called iCloud Photo Library. I think it's just called iCloud Photos now. And so that late 2014, this was available almost immediately on the iPhone and the iPad. It took them a few more months to get this out on the Mac. And one day we woke up on the Mac and our iPhoto was gone, and it had been replaced by this new round icon that looked similar to what we had been seeing on the iPhone and iPad. So a lot of people that had spent a lot of time in iPhoto were very sad because they had to learn something new. But anyway, they had to redesign the photo app for the Mac because what they're doing here was so radical. And so basically this iCloud photo library, what it does is it allows you to have all of your photos on all of your devices all the time. And unlike the shared albums, you can, once you've organized or edited it, that's not the end of it. You can continue to do that on any device, and whatever changes you make, whether it's creating albums, whether it's cropping a photo, deleting photos. If you delete a photo on one device, it's deleted on other devices. So whatever changes you make to this iCloud photo library is happening across your whole Apple system with all the Apple devices that you have with that particular Apple ID. If you've got multiple users on your Mac, then your changes don't affect anything that they've got in their iCloud photo library. So the only negative I'd say to this is that it isn't free. Very quickly you can fill up the 5 gigabytes that they give you for free. In the demo that we're about to do, Johnny Appleseed is still on the free plan, and he's got about 1,200 photos, and he's very close to filling up his limit there. So the good news is it's not very expensive to multiply your storage from the 5 gigs to 50 gigs. You can get that for 99 cents a month. And if you fill up your 50 gigs, then once you get to the $2.99 point for 200 gigs, it's possible to share that plan and the higher plans with your family members using family sharing. So, for instance, I'm on the $2.99 plan. I've gone past the 50 gigs. So when I moved to that, my wife was on the 99-cent plan as well, and my youngest daughter was still living with us. So basically, the three of us got 200 gigs for $3 a month instead of 150 gigs for $3 a month. So if you're willing to share with family members, you can actually you can save a little money and actually gain a little space. I think those are the main points. Actually, I think there's another slide here. First of all, I just actually talked to someone yesterday that was on iOS 10. So the family sharing feature was introduced in iOS 11. So if you haven't upgraded your operating system on some of your devices, then there would be limitations that apply. So anyway, also in iOS 12 and macOS Mojave, they introduced a feature called suggested sharing. So anyway, I haven't seen that as much lately as I did when it initially came out, but if you've identified people in your photo libraries, so there's a feature called People that the artificial intelligence of your device, whether it be the iPhone, the iPad, or the Mac, goes through your library and looks for faces. If you've identified those people and put names on the faces, and you then take a picture with that person in it, it might suggest that you share that picture with that person. Or if you were in the same big event as one of your friends, it might suggest that you share your pictures with your friends. And then one more thing, I'm going to make my little face go away here. The features that I've been talking about are available to Windows users as well. There's a downloadable iCloud control panel for Windows that allows a Windows user to log into their iCloud account and actually synchronize the iCloud photo library with their PC. All right, as far as I know, this is not available on Android in any form, except for we will talk about public albums or public sharing of those shared albums in a little bit here. So I think that's all we've got for the slideshow. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of the slideshow, and we're going to dive in. So as you can see here, I'm on the latest operating system for Mac, at least when we recorded this. This is macOS Catalina. I'm going to go up and click on the Apple and About This Mac. It is 10.15, so this class is in early 2020. And they've had 4 major updates to that since it came out in October of last year. So that means I have the latest version of Photos. So if you have macOS Mojave or anything earlier, your photo library may look a little different than mine because they did some enhancements to the Photos app. So anyway, let's first, before I head over to Photos, I'm going to click the Apple and click System Preferences. And this has changed in Catalina as well. If you've got an earlier version of the operating system, there's going to be in the 3rd row, first item, it'll say iCloud here, and that's where the settings are. In my case, because I've upgraded to Catalina, then my settings for iCloud are inside the Apple ID. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. If you've got Catalina, yours will be like mine, but if you have an earlier version, there will be an Options button underneath the Options button for iCloud Drive. They have removed that from the iCloud settings in Catalina, so your basic choice here is to just have Photos turned on. On the older versions, when you clicked Options, you would see some of the features that I was just talking about. So in Catalina, you basically have to go to the Photos app to get a little bit more detail. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down to the Photos app and click it. And then here's all my details and everything. Here's the latest photos that I've taken. And I'm going to come up to the Photos menu and click Preferences. And so this is where you're going to find the details in the latest version. In fact, latest version number is Photos 5.0. All right, so and in Catalina, you'll only see the last 2 features. They've already started to enforce taking away of that My Photo Stream. So on the Mac side of things, My Photo Stream is gone unless you have that turned on one of your iOS devices. If you're new to the Mac platform, you may actually not see that, or to the Apple platform, you may not see that even on your new devices. So, but anyway, on this one, I've got the shared albums turned on and the iCloud photos. I believe if I had the My Photo Stream turned on any of my devices, it would actually show up in the left-hand column, perhaps under My Albums. But maybe in this first section under Library, My Photo Stream. So I haven't used my photo stream for a while since I started using iCloud Photos. My photo stream is more or less obsolete if you're using this feature here. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to my iPad, and I think this will do it here. Yep, so I'm going to go down and let's move my picture out of the way a little bit. And I'm going to go down to the bottom here and tap on the Photos app. Actually, on the iPad, you're not going to find any settings for this. You'll find the results of your settings inside the app. But if you actually want to make a change to the settings, you'll actually have to head over to get out of Photos and go over to the Settings app. And scroll up to the very top where your name is, touch your name. And then over here in the second column, we're looking for iCloud. And they still have in the basic settings here the options that I've been talking about. As soon as they take that first feature, my photo stream, as soon as they take that out of the iPad and the iPhone, I'll stop talking about this in class. But it is still an option, and perhaps it's not an option if you're a brand new Apple user. It may not be there. So just based on some of the things I'm reading, that could be possible. But there's the three buttons, the three things I talked about. So this is the first thing. And so if I didn't want to do this, then this might make some sense. So it would allow me, if I took a photo on my iPad, to be able to import it on my Mac without actually having to plug the iPad into the Mac. Although I could actually use the shared albums feature to do that. So anyway, that's again something that some of us used for a little while in those couple of intermediate years before the iCloud photo library showed up. So I've got this turned on. Once you turn this on, and I don't know if you noticed this on the Mac as well, but there's two options for the iCloud photos. And I think I've got enough room on this device to actually keep originals. So I'm going to tap download and keep originals. So I personally like to keep the originals on my device if I have the room. Now, you know, when I first started using this, I had a 32 gigabyte phone, and I had a 30 gigabyte photo library. So it wasn't possible for me to keep my original library on the phone. And so when you tap optimize, in fact, this is one of the main objections that I hear from people regarding this, is like, if I put all the photos on my phone, then I won't have room for anything else. But if you switch from download and keep originals to optimize, it will dramatically optimize the amount of space that your photos are taking. In fact, the optimized photo library of 100,000 photos might actually be smaller than just the normal camera roll on a couple of thousand photos. I remember a few years back, I actually turned on iCloud Photo Library and this feature just to stop from having to import photos from my wife's phone to her Mac like once a week, because she took so many that it would fill up her phone. So we moved over to this feature with Optimize turned on, and as soon as the photos get connected to Wi-Fi, so if you're out and about taking photos, when you get back to home and you're on your Wi-Fi, it uploads those photos to the cloud and then replaces them on the device with smaller versions that'll still look good on your small iPhone screen, but they're not taking up as much space. And then if you actually need to do something with them, so maybe you want to make a little video, or maybe you want to send some out to get prints made or something like that, then it will actually automatically go get the full versions. And so for certain tasks, you might see a little bit of delay where there's a little spinning wheel where it's retrieving the original full version of the photo for your task. So those are the settings. And so when I go over to the libraries, whether it's on the iPad or on the Mac, then what I should see at the very, on my Mac, I'm in the library section, and I'm in all photos at the top here. So This is what it looks like in the newer version. They've actually organized, instead of, what did they used to call it, moments, collections. I can't remember the third thing. They've now organized these things into years, months, days, and all photos. So anyway, I'm in the all photos section at the top. I've also clicked the little button that keeps them from being squares. That's a new option in Catalina's photos, is to view your photos as squares, so it can just be one kind of solid slab of photos going through here. And so I like viewing them in the original aspect ratio. But at the very bottom, it's got a number. Mine has the number 1083 photos, 1083 photos, 9 videos, and underneath that in light print, mine says updated just now. And so what that means is that there's no activity going on in the whole translation between the different devices. And I'm expecting that to be the same. Let's go over to my iPad, and so I'm expecting that. I'm tapping on photos on the far left, and I'm going to go to the very bottom. I'm expecting that number to be the exact same on the iPad, and it is. So 1083 photos, 9 videos. I see a little video that I made apparently by mistake. This last video right here. So I'm going to select that and tap underneath my face here. There we go. And tap the little delete button. And so I'm going to delete that video. And then I'm going to switch back over to the Mac, and there it goes. It just disappeared right in front of our eyes. So where those things go when you delete them, like I said earlier in the slideshow part, anything you do to your library on one device happens to the library on your other devices. On the Mac here, in the left-hand column, if you have any deleted photos, there's going to be an item called recently deleted. And so if I go into that, then it's actually got some photos that I took apparently, or at least I deleted them 8 days ago. So basically what happens is when you put something in recently deleted, it gets exactly 30 days to stay in the deleted section before they go away forever. So like this photo right here down at the bottom, I must have put in here, that's actually a little video or a live photo, I'm not sure. This was taken 28 days ago. It's got 2 days left, and then without me doing anything, it's going to go away. Let's just say I wanted to get rid of some in advance of that time, I can go ahead and select them. And what I'm doing is clicking with my mouse. Alright, so I'm going to click in the white area with my thumb and then drag with my finger, and that's selecting these photos. And then I'm going to come up and delete those 3 photos. Or I could be thinking to myself, you know what, those photos are good. I like those photos. I could recover them. I've got 19 days left to recover those 3 photos. But if I go ahead and delete those 3 photos, it will warn me. Whatever I'm about to do, I can't undo it. So if I delete that, those are going to go away. And let's go back over to the iPad, and I just want to show you, tell you what, I'm going to go down to the album section. So in the album section at the very bottom is where, if you have any deleted photos, there will be this special album called recently deleted, and it will actually be the same exact set of photos in the deleted section that you have over on your Mac or on your iPhone. So on this one, if I come up and touch select and touch this photo, and maybe I'll drag my finger across a whole line of them, I can then come up to the top left. I don't know why they don't keep it consistent, but up in the top left, I can press delete or recover, and those will go away. And let's see, yep, they just went away on the Mac as well. It's like, you know what, this one I want to get rid of that on the Mac. This one right here, I want to get rid of that. So what I'm actually doing, to delete on the Mac, there's not really, there is actually a delete button up in the upper right, but I can also just press the delete key on my keyboard, and it pops up and asks me if I want to go ahead and do that. So anyway, I'm going to delete that here, and we'll go back to the iPad. Yep, there it goes. So anyway, that's deleting photos, no matter whether you're on your phone, your phone, your iPad, your Mac. It's happening on all the devices. I'm going to come up to back to my Mac here. I'm going to come up to the Photos menu in the upper left. I'm going to make myself a little album. Here are my albums on the left here. Yours might look like it might be collapsed into just the My Albums title, which if you click on it, it will show your albums in little squares over here on the right, or bigger squares if you raise the size up here in the top left. With albums, you can actually skim through the albums. If you clicked on it here, you can skim through them just by moving the arrow from left to right across the album. Unless you've made a folder. This is a folder here. This is a folder here. When it's got four squares inside of a square, then that's a folder with other albums inside of that folder. But anything I do if I create a new album, and so I'm coming back up to Photos, and I'm going to select, and I'm using that little technique where I press with my thumb and drag with my finger. I'm going to select these two, and maybe hold down the Shift key and drag, select these four. So I've got blue lines around these six pictures, and then I can either hover over the plus or hover over My Albums, and a plus appears. So as soon as I move my mouse away, that plus goes away. Boy, they really hide that one. If I click the plus, I can make a new album out of those 6 photos. If I click the File menu, it actually tells me that when I make a new album, it's going to contain that selection of 6 photos. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. New album. It's just calling it Photos right now, but I can now type in whatever I want. So I'm going to call this Butterflies, even though I know that there's at least one moth in there. So I'm calling it Butterflies, and when I come over to the iPad, and I'm in an album right now called Deleted Items, so I have to, I'm going to cancel what I was doing. I'm going to go back to the main list of albums and then scroll up. There's my Butterflies album. So it has already synchronized that organizational effect, that organizational action that I did on the Mac has already been synchronized to the iPad. So maybe I'm sitting on the couch one day and I decide, you know what, I think I've got more than 6 photos of butterflies in my library. So I could come down to the lower right and do a search. I could do this on my Mac, my iPhone, or my iPad. Tap the search option and go ahead and type in what it is. Whoops, not 2 U's, 2 T's. Butterfly. I could search for butterfly. And it's interesting. It finds more results if it's a singular butterfly. So I'm going to just tap that and make the keyboard go away. And so I see 2 additional photos that aren't in that album when I do a search for butterfly. So let's just see all. And then I'll select that photo and that photo. And I don't want to delete, but the action of adding to an album is this little share button in the upper left. I'm going to go ahead and tap that. And we're going to talk about shared albums in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and add this to an album. It asks me which album do you want to put it in. So I'm going to go in and add it to the Butterflies album. And when I come over to the Mac, before I even could get switched over, it had already added those butterflies to the album on my Mac. So again, whatever it is that you're doing on any device is getting synchronized. Let's go in. I'm going to take this photo right here, and I'm going to do a little bit of editing to it. So I'm going to come up and tap the Edit command. And first of all, let's try the I don't know. You know what? I've already done something to this one apparently. If I let's revert to the original. So up in the upper left, if you click this, I don't even remember making changes to this photo. So it was some time back, and let's bring my face back in over there. It's some time back, but I've still got the option to revert to the original. So I'm gonna go ahead and click that. Oh wow. So this photo was taken with my camera sideways, and it's got all this extra space that I don't really need. All this extra detail. There's not really anything compelling to view there. So I cropped that out. I'm going to go do that again. And actually, before I do, let's just say done. And when I come over to the iPad, you'll see that that change has happened to the iPad as well. So, but I'm going to go back in on my Mac and edit that and redo the change in a way here. So I'm going to pull the cropping down this way just to barely keep that flower in view. We'll grab this one and barely get the tip of the butterfly there. And I might even crop out a little bit of the stuff on the right there. So make this more of a square Instagram type picture. And I can see this is a lot more vibrant on the internet than it is on my actual screen, but I'm going to go ahead and do some adjustments here. And let's just take a quick look at levels. Levels looks pretty good. I might change my midtones a little bit. But you can also go in and I could just do an automatic light adjustment, and you get some immediately changes something to brilliance here. I might crank that up a little bit more. I might pull a little bit more detail out of the shadows to maybe try to pull something out of the details of the butterfly's body itself. And then we'll call this done. As soon as I do that, I'm gonna hit done, and then I'm gonna switch real quickly over to the iPad. So the iPad should be getting a notice from the Mac. It hasn't gotten it yet. There it goes. Boom. So I like it. I like that when it happens pretty quickly in class. Sometimes if the internet's a little bit slower, then you'll see a little bit of delay in that kind of thing. So the organization happens with iCloud Photo Library. Editing happens with iCloud Photo Library, and then anything that you delete shows up in the recently deleted item of your iPad or in the recently deleted section of your Mac. If I was to tap the button delete all, then this would actually go away. This album would go away until I delete another photo. So if you don't have that, don't worry. Just delete something and it'll show up. So, all right. We've got a few minutes left, so I want to talk about, let me close up my albums. I want to talk about the shared albums feature. When I click it, it shows all the albums I've got that are shared albums over here on the right. Let me just go ahead and expand that out on the left so I can also see them, all of them over here as well. You can see Johnny Appleseed has a bunch of these, and he's been a Mac user and an iPad user for a number of years, so his use of this actually goes back before the iCloud Photos era. And so for a couple of years, he was actually using the shared albums as a way to synchronize some of his photos between devices. Now, some of his albums, you can actually see this. Some of them say shared by you. So that means you are the owner of the album, and you have all the control over it. But some of them, let's see, let's scroll up to the top here. Shared by Tom Quinlan. So this is Johnny Appleseed's computer. I'm Tom. I shared this album from Tom Quinlan. So I shared these with Johnny Appleseed, and so he doesn't have as much control over these as he does the ones that he shared himself. So let's we'll take a look. We're going to take a look at that. But let's as an example of this. Actually, let's go look at this one right here. So this is an album with a bunch of cats in it, cat photos. So we're going to double check that. He's a subscriber to this album right here. When he clicks the people button, it will show all the people inside that are subscribers, but he only has one option. He can, or two options, I guess. He can unsubscribe from this and not have these photos anymore on his devices, or he can just turn off notifications so that if someone makes a comment or a like, he doesn't get a little ding on all of his devices when that happens. So as a subscriber, you have those options. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go into we're actually going to go find the photos in the album that I just made. So we're going to go to the Butterflies album. And what happened to that one? Well, that's for some reason it's not. There it goes. I want to select these 8 photos, and let's say I want to start sharing these photos with other people that like butterflies. So I'm going to go up to the edit menu and select all of them. And then on the Mac, I'm going to come over to the share button. So on the Mac, it's on the right-hand side, and the feature that I'm going to want to use here is shared albums. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And so on a Mac, this is going to be a little bit different on an iPad and an iPhone. So pay attention. On a Mac, it shows all those other shared albums that I have down here, and up at the top, it gives me the option of creating a new shared album. I'm going to switch over to the iPad. I'm going to slide up and go to my Butterflies album, and we will hit select, tap select, and then drag my finger across that line and then come in and grab this photo here. I don't know, was there a select all option? I didn't see one. So, oh yeah, there it is, select all. The share button is over on the far left. So instead of on the right, it's on the left. And then let's see. I want to add to. Whoops! I hit the wrong thing. I don't want to add these to an album. I want to add them to a shared album. So this is where it's different from the Mac. So switching back over to the Mac again is showing me the list of albums that I've got and the option to create a new shared album. The iPad is only showing me it's showing me a post option, and then in very fine print it's showing me what album it will go to if I tap post. And so apparently we're supposed to know that if we hit post, it's going into the album that's selected. So if I don't want to put it in that, then what I have to do is actually touch that. And then it goes back to showing me a list that's very similar to what's on the Mac. So with the Mac, you get this list right away. On the iPad, that list doesn't show up unless you tap down here in the shared album part, and then you get the option to create a new shared album or put it in one of the other previous albums. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll do this on the iPad. I'm going to put new shared album, and we're going to call this Butterfly Club, even though there are some moths here. All right, so Butterfly Club, and I'm going to go ahead and tap next. So at this point, I could actually start inviting people. I'm going to skip this for now. So you can always skip this and decide and go back and put people in there later. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and now it goes back to that original screen where I can post, but it's got the correct album listed here. So I'm not going to have to do this on the Mac now because I'm actually doing this on the iPad, but I'm going to go ahead and post and then switch back to the Mac, and under my shared albums we should get, there it goes, there's the Butterfly Club, and here come the photos. Alright, so he's got his eight photos here. On the Mac side of things, if you want to share with people later, there's a little silhouette of a person that when you hover over it, it then pops up with the word people. And why they made it to where the word people pops in under the mouse, I don't know. It seems to me it should pop up over on the left side of that so you can actually see what it says. On the iPad, once you go back, I need to go back and find my shared albums. So here's I'm still in the album section down here, but I'm not no longer looking at my album. I'm looking at the shared albums section. So this was just my Butterflies album. This is my Butterfly Club shared album. When I go into that, then up at the top, oops, didn't mean to touch that. It actually says people right there. So I can touch that and I can see that there is nobody invited yet. I could tap invite here. I could put in an iPhone telephone number there. I can put in someone's email address. You know what? I'm going to bring up, I'm going to get my phone ready for this. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to type in my email address, one of my email addresses here. And is it giving me, we'll tap that and we will tap, actually it's not showing me my, let's just go ahead and finish it. Tom, at iCloud, press and hold on period and come up to .com. All right, add. So I've invited myself twice, two different ways. On my phone, right on the lock screen, it's showing that Johnny Appleseed has invited me to join his Butterfly Club. If I touch that, it will take me right to that after I unlock the phone. If I don't touch it, then on my Photos app, I've got a little red number 1. And so when I touch it and go to, what is that, for you, for me, I touch that, then I've got the invitation to accept or decline it. And so I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Yeah, there it goes. So now I'm getting the 8 photos. Johnny Appleseed just got the notice that Tom Quinlan has joined his album. So already I can come in and start scrolling through the different photos, and I can give photos a little thumbs up. I can add a comment. Can't see that very well, but I can add a comment. You know what? I'm in dark mode, I think. So let's get out of dark mode and maybe you can see it a little better. I can add a comment here. Let's just see if let's go back to the very first one, and I'm going to add a comment, and I will say, "Nice shot." All right, send. So Johnny Appleseed is going to get fairly quickly a notification that make that go away. That Tom Quinlan. I'm seeing this on the Mac. Let's go ahead and switch over to the Mac. Tom Quinlan made a comment. Nice shot. Tom Quinlan liked your photo. Tom Quinlan joined the Butterfly Club. So each person gets a notification when something happens to the album, unless when you click on people, you turn off notifications. So if I'm starting to get you know, maybe gets to be at some point 100 people in the club, and so when somebody posts some new pictures, there might be little dings going off in my pocket. I could come into my phone and let's go back to the main group. I could go down on the phone. It's down at the very bottom. In fact, let's make this a little brighter. Where it says people, and I could turn off notifications on this. It's actually telling me that Johnny Appleseed is the owner of this album. So if I wanted him to make a change or something, I could request it from him. I could also unsubscribe from this, and those photos would go away from my phone. If I decide, you know what, I really love this photo right here, I could actually, let's see, let's tap this. And I could actually save this image to my own photo library here. So while I'm still a member of this club, I can actually make those kinds of those permanent options there. You know what? I want to stay on my phone for a second. I'm a member of this club now. So I believe that I have got some photos that I could add to this. So Johnny Appleseed is allowing people, subscribers, to post. So I can come back to my main library and do a search. And I'm going to type in butterfly, B-U-T-T-E-R. There's two butterflies. I'm going to select both of those, and we will go down to add to shared album. Now, if I tap post right now, it's going to go into an album this album, April 2020 Backyard Fun, and I don't want it to go there, so I have to touch that. And when you just subscribe to an album, for some reason, it's usually at the very bottom. So I'm going to tap that, and now I'm putting it in the proper place, and I'm going to hit post. And Johnny Appleseed, well, he actually got the photos before he even got told that I put photos in there. So my photos have just jumped in. We will switch over to the Mac, and we'll make a comment on those. So we'll just so on a Mac, to do a comment, you actually go to the lower left-hand corner. There he's got the notice up here at the top, two new photos. But he can make a comment, and let's just B-A-U-T-I-F-U-L. Oops. I've got to look at my keyboard here. There we go. F-U-L. And we'll also throw in a like there as well. All right. So I might have actually... All right. There we go. So I'm actually going to get a notice on my phone, probably, that Johnny Appleseed just liked your photo. That's not showing up there. It's I can on my Mac actually. It's showing up that he made a comment. It hasn't happened here. Maybe if I go into this, you shared two photos, recent activity. It's not actually showing his comments yet, but anyway, I'm expecting that to happen shortly. All right. Also, let's just say I'm going to break the rules here, and I'm going to search for moth, because I've got a beautiful lunar moth picture. So M-O-T-H. There's a nice lunar moth picture on my phone. I'm going to go ahead and share that as well. And because I recently shared to the Butterfly Club, I'm just already in that mode. I can just come up and tap post. And so Johnny Appleseed is going to get that photo shortly. If I don't see it yet, there it goes. Boom. And so I just want to show you one other thing. We've got a couple of minutes left. If you are the owner of an album, and so we're going to use my phone as the example here. If you're the owner of an album, and I'm going to go back to albums. So I tapped albums at the very bottom, and these are my shared albums. I'm going to go ahead and see all. It's actually got the Butterfly Club at the top. And I'm going to start scrolling down through the photos, and I want to show you one. So because I'm a little more tech savvy, usually among my friends, I'm usually one of the ones to start one of these albums. And there's one that is something you'll have to watch out for if you're the one that invites other people to an album. And getting close. There it is, right there. It is right there. I don't know if you notice anything unusual about that, but to me, when I look at the title of it and the photo that's the last photo that went into it, it doesn't make sense. It's like that would be a very odd Christmas photo. I'm going to go into it, and it looks, boy, it sure looks like a lot of graduation photos in there. And when I scroll back a little bit, it's like, wow, that looks like hiking photos. Maybe we went for a hike on Christmas, but no, that wasn't the case. So what happened here, when I scroll all the way back, here are the photos. Some of these might actually be from other people. But then what happened was, so let me tap the word people. You can actually see people started unsubscribing from this when whatever happened. I had subscribers compose turned on, and what happened was a month or two after we created this album, my brother, who was relatively new to the iPhone at that point, went on a hike, and I'm not sure exactly what he thought, but when he selected those photos and tapped share, just as I was showing before on the iPad, when you do that, it's going to offer you the last album that you used. So he just hit the word post, and all those photos came into my to my Christmas album. And then another month or two after that, I still had not turned off the subscribers can post. He did it again with these graduation photos. Now, as the owner of the album, I have the power to select his photos and delete them. We'll just do one of them. Been kind of picking one of these off class by class here. I have the power to do that. He has the power to delete his photos from here. He does not have the power to delete my original Christmas photos. So people that you invite to your albums have the power to delete photos that they put into it. They do not have the power to delete any other photos. So what I typically do now is, after a few weeks of an album being open for subscribers to post, if I think about it, I'll go back in there and turn that off so that new users won't accidentally do that kind of thing. The main reason I leave these here is so I can talk about it with you guys. So, all right, I think we're just about done. I want to show you one more thing, and you could do this on your iPad. For this, you'd either go to Safari or another web browser. You could do this on your Mac. I'm going to go to Safari here as well, and I'm going to come up to the search bar, and I'm going to type in an address, and you could write this down. It's help.apple.com, and then a slash, and then iCloud is what we're going to put in there. So just help.apple.com/iCloud. Again, you could be doing this on the iPad as well. Just tap up there and type in the same thing, help.apple.com/iCloud. And then just press return or hit go on the iPad, and there's a user guide for iCloud. And so if you tap table of contents, then it will have all the chapters of all the features of iCloud, but we're interested in this one. So here are the different things: Photos and iCloud overview, more with photos, shared albums, my photo stream, and this is where I found out that my photo stream is not available for new accounts. If you use iCloud for Windows, my photo stream is only available in version 7. So apparently they're phasing out that first version. It tells you all about that, but it's telling you about all these features of iCloud Photos. So if there's something that you missed, of course we're recording this now, so you can go back and watch it again, or you can head over to the album and you can review it. Anything that you do in the iCloud photo library is actually synchronizing with an Apple TV if you have one of those. Without your devices being present, you can actually browse through photos on an Apple TV. So one more device to kind of throw in there. So anyway, I think that's all we've got for you today. iCloud Photos, it's a lot of fun. I really like being able to take a picture and have it on my phone and just have it show up on my Mac and on my iPad, be available to me. That's worth a little bit of an investment with the iCloud storage for me. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and hope to see you soon in one of the other classes. All right, thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.